Welcome to our Meet the Parents podcast, the show where we share stories from everyday life to help with the ups and downs of parenting. We'll have honest conversations as together we'll grow everyday faith in our homes. Be sure to follow us on your favourite podcast provider or check out the video version on YouTube. All show notes and episodes can be found at livingrock.church/meet the parents.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Lisa.
And we have 3 children. Our eldest is 20 and our youngest is 15. We're no experts on parenting. We're all different. But we want to hear from other parents about what they've tried and tested, what they've failed at, what they've succeeded at. So together we can learn how God wants us to grow families that love Him. Yeah. Over to you.
Okay, so today, in our special episode today, we're going to chat about all things Christmas. We've come with our bling, we're all dressed up, we've got our Christmas jumpers out the attic, and we want to chat about how we can keep Jesus at the centre of Christmas, which is a real challenge, potentially, in some families. Content warning, we are going to talk about certain things that you may not want small people to be in the room to hear. So
the man with the red coat and the white beard.
Yeah, so just if you have little people around and you don't want them to hear everything, then you may want to move them out the room now. Okay. And we're going to welcome our guests today. We're really, really chuffed to welcome Chris and Helen. It's lovely to have you here.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
It's going to be great. So thank you so much for coming. And we know you guys love Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just as a
Maybe I'm kind of hopefully, well, I'll find out from the end of today if it's more than Lisa or not. Lisa, when she was young, she tells me when she was a child that she got anticipated Christmas so much and loved all the excitement of building up to it that she physically got ill in the sort of weeks leading up to Christmas.
You just have to ask my parents.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
So we'll see. I'll rate you at the end how well. How will you do on the sort of...
Look forward to it.
The hype, we'll
Christmasometer.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
There you go.
I like that. So can you just introduce yourselves, how many children you've got, and a little bit about that would be great.
Sure.
So obviously I'm Helen and this is Chris. We have 3 kids. We have Izzy who's 12, we have Alexi who's 9, and we have Ed who is 5. So yeah, they're all Christmas mad as well.
Great.
So it kind of runs down the veins.
Definitely does.
Cool. And as a starter question, Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Where would you go on Christmas movies if you had to watch a Christmas movie? There are some good ones. There are some bad ones. But where would you go on that?
I think we have personal favourites between all of us.
Yeah.
So I think for Chris and I, we would say like The Holiday
yes.
It's a Wonderful Life is one that I have to watch every year.
Yeah.
That has to happen.
But how many have you already watched?
Oh, quite a few already. And we've got to at least 7 or 8 movies in the last few days alone.
Okay. We've done The Holiday.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Is that it? You don't let me watch them too soon, do you?
We've got to catch up. We're going to be catching up soon.
I mean, our favourite one is the Muppet Christmas Carol. Is I think the family one. That's one we always put on shortly after decorating the tree. That's the kind of the big one we have. And then, I mean, the kids love the Christmas Chronicle ones. Both Christmas Chronicles 1 and 2 are definitely favourites. So
yeah,
fantastic.
I love that too.
Nativity as well.
Yeah.
Nativity, you can't go wrong with a bit Nativity.
No,
Alex
that's
loves
right.
those ones.
Brilliant. Next question. What's the next one?
Do you have any family traditions that you always do at Christmas?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's some that seem probably less Christmassy than others, but they've become Christmas traditions. So Christmas Eve, we will always actually have a takeaway curry, which is very un-Christmas, but actually
genius.
I love that.
Gives us a bit of a rest because we love to cook and host, and we get really into like planning the menu at Christmas. So it kind of means that by that point, hopefully everything's kind of prepped, and it's that. Right, we're going to have a takeaway, everything's done, let's just relax before the chaos of the next morning.
And I think because we love Christmas so much as well, we tend to start earlier than perhaps some people would perhaps approve of, shall we say, in that we generally our trees up by the last weekend of November. So it's pretty early on from that point of view, but because we like that whole build-up and all the different things as part of that. We tend to be an early Christmas rather than a later Christmas kind of family. So
yeah, I think we're kind of in the mix here.
Yeah, definitely.
I would start in November. The music did creep in at, I think, the first week of November.
Love it.
You
it's
had
great.
to turn it down a bit, but yeah, me and Annie, we were all over it. So I love the build-up. It's kind of what I love. I like looking around the shops. I like seeing all the things going on. Everyone seems a bit more happy for a while. There's all sorts of music everywhere that everyone just seems a bit more cheery, and it's just a great atmosphere. But it can be really hard in the middle of all the stuff, can't it? That you can end up getting distracted by all the present buying and what food are we going to eat, and then suddenly it's like, where are we at? Are we going to keep Jesus in the middle of all this? How do we figure where he fits with all the activity and the busyness? And have you got anything that you can share with us about how you managed to put Jesus at the centre of your preparations for Christmas and how you bring him in?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, as we kind of were reflecting, because it's funny, isn't it? Some things happen just naturally and kind of build up over kind of planning Christmas. Some things are more intentional. And I think one of the things that we really feel is important is that Christmas isn't just meant to be like a one-off thing where suddenly all this stuff happens and it's like suddenly Jesus comes into the centre and suddenly there's all this talk about holiness and Bible reading. But actually, it's a continuation of what should already be happening throughout the year. So although we celebrate Jesus's birth, life, death, resurrection throughout the year, and Christmas is a great excuse to do more and go bigger and to kind of really focus in again. But if it's not an extension of what you're already living out, I think that makes it very challenging, actually. So for us, like we work hard with the kids to kind of bring Jesus into every single circumstance that we can throughout the year. And then when Christmas comes, it's not like this strange gear shift where my parents have suddenly become all holy. Like actually, it's just kind of a continuation of normal life.
That's really important, isn't it? Just to make it very day to day.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also we always try to bring them back to a position of gratefulness, because it can be so overwhelming for kids in that season, because there's stuff happening at school, there's stuff happening everywhere, and it can kind of be a little bit overwhelming for them. So we try and always bring them back to what are we grateful for before we're asking for stuff and writing lists or in that position of wanting to receive gifts. What are we grateful for? What are we thankful for? What has Jesus given us? And it just helps the kids remember, actually, yes, this is what we believe, this is what we're thankful for, look what God's provided for us. And we then obviously celebrate that on Christmas Day with remembering the birth of Christ. And
there are certain things I think we do that help kind of center us back every day. So we've got like an Advent Christmas tree, little tree that has little books hanging on it, and there's like each day you can open part of the story and you read part of the story together. And so because the kids are very focused on their Advent calendars, it's a good way to get them to, well, let's read the book first and kind of center on that, and then you can have your chocolate calendar, then you can have your whatever else. And so I think that kind of thing is helpful as well.
Yeah, I love all that. That sounds really great. I wish our kids were younger again and revisit some of this.
There's some really great resources out there,
now,
which is really helpful as well.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's just tapping into what's already out there to help yourselves, isn't it? So how do we practically prepare for Christmas? There's so many preparations, aren't there? And so many things we can be trying to do in the build-up. So how do we do that?
Oh, do you want to do this question first? Here, I've got a question here.
Okay, go for it.
No, we just skirted over Mr. Big S.
Oh, sorry.
How do we do Santa? Because obviously there's some people go full on Santa. Some people, well, you go. What do you guys do regarding Santa and how much he's pushed? Because obviously he's not Jesus. So where do you go on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, Santa's definitely part of our kind of regular routine. I think at Christmas, I think it definitely is part of it.
Sorry, can you just put on the hat?
You want me to put just to kind of make it more special?
So Santa doesn't feature very much in their house.
No, we're not at all bothered by Santa in our house. Ho, ho, ho.
Sorry, I just made you do that on the podcast.
So it's all good. It's all good. I'm happy. We're there. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's. I mean, it's funny. We watched a movie actually yesterday. A movie called A Boy Called Christmas. It's a new movie that's just come out. And one of the things we're reflecting on as we kind of watch this movie, the movie's about this boy called Christmas, and basically his dad is there with him. His mum's not around, but his mum has clearly invested in him this feeling of love is really important. You've got a lot of love to give. And then he gets captured by these bad guys, and his dad comes to rescue him, but his dad has to sacrifice himself, like during the storyline. Sorry, it's a bit of a story ruin there for everyone who's watching that movie. Spoiler alert. And then Christmas kind of goes off and lives with this kind of burden a bit. But he goes to these elves and he helps the elves have purpose and brings purpose into their life. And then he starts to create these gifts and gives these gifts to children and start to say, actually, it's not about how big the gift is, but it's about the heart behind giving it and all this love he has to give. And it just kind of made me realize that that the world is craving Jesus.
Yes.
And actually there's, whether it be the sacrifice of a father for a son, whether it be the redeeming of a people or a nation to bring them back to a purpose again, whether it be giving gifts and the gratitude, that actually the world around us is craving that. And so in some ways, Santa represents many things actually that are very Christian in nature, in terms of giving good gifts, in terms of provision, in terms of hope, in terms of fun, in terms of all those joy, all those kind of things. But as you said, like, Santa isn't Jesus, and that isn't, I think, from our
spoiler
point.
alert.
Yeah. And so from our point of view, I think we really feel like it's so important that our kids have faith in Jesus. That's got to be the focus. Absolutely. And Santa's a great tradition; it's a thing we do, but it's not talked about throughout the year. Whereas Jesus is. Santa is something that we have that we feel is fun, and it's kind of helps the kids with their imagination, and it's creative. But ultimately, it's got to be centered on Jesus.
Yes.
And so I think that's the kind of focus that we have.
Yeah, we definitely make a big difference between the fun and the faith in our house.
Oh, that's a good line.
Because
that's great.
Santa can be fun, and the kids love the magic of Christmas. And we do Santa, and we'll do Christmassy things. But it's, as Chris said, it's ultimately our focus is always on Jesus. When the kids ask questions about whether Santa's real and things like that, we're very careful how we answer those, and we'll ask them questions back. Yeah. And really kind of bring them back to what the real meaning of Christmas is. And I think it's holding the fun element of Santa really lightly, and the priority and the focus being Jesus and his love for us.
That's good, isn't it? Because some families don't do Santa at all, and they will make sure that their stockings and their presents are given from the parents rather from Santa. But obviously, you don't want kids going to school and, ruining it for other children and the bubble. But like you said, the key thing here, isn't it? It's a reflection. What you do at Christmas is a reflection of what you do during the year, isn't it? So it's not whether you believe in Santa, you push Santa with your children or not. It's, are you continuing that faith journey during the year, and what are you doing as parents during the year, isn't it? So that's the key thing. What
we did with our children was we kind of, because I do love Santa myself. I like the idea, like the magicalness. I loved anything imaginative as a child, and I love that sense of fun of it. But I think how we addressed it was we love stockings. They're often the best presents of Christmas for our kids, because they're all the little bits, the random, the pants and the vest and the things you don't get all year.
Do you buy your kids socks and pants for Christmas?
If anyone gets a hole in a sock or a pant in November, they've got to
wait
wait
for Christmas.
You're holding out.
We have the odd orange, don't we? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
We always have the orange.
There's Zatzuma. It's always got to be a Zatzuma.
Oh, yes, but Joe used to call it the odd orange. Have you got your odd orange? And then get that out. So we always have the random presents in there, which is great. But we also used to make sure that so that was kind of like the Santa moment of the day. And then that was the only credit Santa got for anything that was given, because I think you were saying earlier, Helen, weren't you, about being grateful for things. We were really passionate about the children saying thank you to the right people for their presents. If we'd saved up money to buy them a really great gift, we didn't want some guy in a red suit getting all the glory. We were that was a bit of an expense for us. And if people gave them presents, I wanted them to say thank you to the right people.
Expensive parents' presents came from us.
And equally, I sit with my post-it note, writing down who got what from who, just to say thank you and be grateful for the things that people had spent their money on. So that was how we balanced it. So, I think I loved the idea of it, but I think it was always kept in context, and he had his moment and then he had his moment that had finished.
Exactly.
So one thing we quite often do is, yes, the kids, they want to open their stockings first thing in the morning, but very quickly we tend to end up watching a story of the nativity. Kids have had their fun with their stockings, they've been in our bed, the wrapping paper's everywhere, you're finding it in your hair 3 days later. But then we come back to the fact of the real point of Christmas, the real meaning of Christmas. And so there are some really good, the Storybook Bible do a great video on YouTube. There's a Lego one which Ed loves, but it's very quickly, okay, we've had our fun with our stockings, but let's bring our hearts back to worship.
Great.
Yes, that's good.
Videos are a great way of doing that in the mornings, because parents are tired. You've probably been up too late, but it's a quite way to have a snuggle in the bed and watch something that just reminds the kids of actually what are we waking up and worshipping for that morning. Yeah,
that's a great idea. And I think it's important that we balance the wants and what we need, isn't it? There's a culture, isn't there? I've seen many children as I've been doing my Christmas shopping lately, kids going, I want that. And some parents are buying it now, and I'm like, gosh, I can't even wait 2 weeks. But it's important that we balance the temporary with the permanent, the now with the waiting. And I think it's just setting some boundaries about saying this is something we wait for. We're grateful for the small things. And I think one other thing as well is just how do we as parents spiritually prepare for Christmas? Because I think there's an element of, just getting caught in the foray of everything, isn't there? And the speed of activity. You're talking earlier about all the nativity shows you've got to go to, you know, and, you know, how do we as parents spiritually prepare our homes and our families for it? You know, is there anything else that you do?
I mean, I think the first thing actually is more of a practical thing for us, is that we have to make sure that we're communicating really well. Because I think one of the things that we've always prioritized at Christmas is wanting to create an atmosphere that the kids can just really relax into and enjoy. I think if I think back to my childhood, I couldn't name every present I was given or every Christmas dinner that we had, but I remember the atmosphere and what it was like to be around joy and excitement and happiness and family. And I think, so we spent a lot of time initially preparing, actually, talking to each other about how we're going to sort stuff out, who's taking responsibility for what do we need to get planning. We start well early. We're buying Christmas presents probably like in November, because we can get into the sales, the Black Friday sales that was coming up, try and save some money.
I think we'd nearly finished. I think we've nearly finished.
Right.
Our shopping?
Presents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, okay.
have.
I've bought a few.
Oh, yeah.
Bought a lot.
We say
you
we.
bought mine.
Yeah.
You bought mine.
It's
I bought all the others.
corporate we. There is a corporate we.
Just let me get away with
on
too many
behalf
corporate
of
wees.
On behalf of,
But but it makes Christmas a lot easier, and then you're spending your money more intentionally, and you're thinking about the presents rather than doing last minute rushes.
Yeah, absolutely.
that's it.
I think when the stress builds, I find that when I'm at my most stressed, the poor kids are the ones that get it, and then you're kind of, you've then got the mum guilt. They then are they're not feeling so Christmassy because they've been yelled at. So for us, organisation in our house is key, because it just means that as we get through Advent, as we get closer to Christmas, we're in a better place because things are planned. We're not thinking, we haven't bought for Aunt Maggie or whoever or whatever.
Oh, Maggie.
We don't have one.
Well, we bought for it. Yeah.
No. I'll put her on the list.
But it just means the lighter we can be in our stress levels, the more there is an environment of fun that we can have with the kids. And the kids actually don't, as Chris said, doesn't ask for all that stuff or remember that stuff. It's the family time that they're after, and
So
the more we can get done earlier, the more free our time is.
Something I noticed that what you said was that you plan together, you talk together, you sort things out together, and you make decisions together. So you've got a Christmas that is planned and agreed together.
Yeah.
Now, there's all sorts of people, for whatever reasons, we have very complicated lives, that don't sort things out during their life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Christmas can be an extension of what relationships can be like during the year. And if we're not sorting issues out in our relationships, then those do sometimes boil over at Christmas.
That's right.
So the thing that I would like to say is sort things out with the nearest and dearest before Christmas. So when you get together at Christmas, it's that special because you've done the forgiveness, you've done all the discussions that need to be had and sorted out, so you can have a good Christmas. You don't leave it until they come round at Christmas Day, and then have a little boiling over on Boxing Day when you've had a couple of too many sherries.
I think it's also important to manage your expectations, isn't it? Because I think knowing your own family boundaries are really important, that we're not just saying, well, this is a free-for-all here. We have our family way of doing things, and we negotiate that in advance.
Yes.
So, have you had any, is that something that works?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think part of that conversation is about what are we going to prioritise and what we're not going to prioritise. And it can be a very overscheduled time like Christmas, that you've got all the things happening, all good things that are happening. But if you're not careful, you end up committing to something every single night of the week and then every single day, and you're trying to buy presents at the same time. And so we have that conversation. In fact, one year we even remember we got through one Christmas and it was a pretty intense Christmas. And so we put in the calendar for next year from November a big block saying prioritise family time across the whole of our calendar in our phones, just because so we got there, we'd take a pause and go, hold on, what's the priority here? And I think other people, one of the big things that we found as you talk about Christmas is that people have very strong views on what a good Christmas looks like. And if you're not careful, you start to compare and you feel like, well, I should be doing that, because even now people listening to this are saying, oh, perhaps I should or do that, or I shouldn't do that or whatever. And actually, it's really important that we don't allow that comparison to creep in, and that we kind of say, what's good for our family? What do we need? And how do we make sure that we prioritize that? Because that is about keeping Jesus at the center for us,
that's right.
for sure.
I think a good example of that kind of prioritization, but also not that pressure, is you and I. The fact that we've been doing a Christmas devotional together.
You have, yes.
But actually, we knew capacity-wise that we couldn't start on the 1st of December and have a hope of finishing it by Christmas.
Was it a 25-day?
It's a 25-day reading
And
devotional.
you're supposed to do one a day.
You're meant to do one a day.
Got you.
So Lisa and I started it together in November because we were like, let's
Smart.
take the pressure off ourselves.
Yes.
Like, we can do this at our pace with everything else that's going on and actually be intentional about it and be fed well from it rather than feeling like I've got to do this because otherwise I'm not going to keep up with the dates, and you're not taking anything of it in. We're not giving time for the Spirit to speak to us.
And what day are you on?
What day? We're day 12 now.
11 or 12, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's quite.
I like you
still.
see that ahead of
We
schedule.
won't tell you what day we're recording, but
you're ahead. You're ahead.
We're okay. Let's just say.
But we've given us space.
Yeah, that's
and I
good.
think
It's
that-
so important.
it's that thing of, I think, create space for yourself, create space for your kids.
Yeah.
Like, we know that Ed can't do every event that is sensory in regards to lights and sounds and sugar. You've all met Ed. Like, he's a busy guy. And we have to be really intentional at going, okay, no, we're just going to have a movie. It doesn't matter about kind of how many hours of screen time we've had on this day, because he needs to sit and be still to actually help himself. And it's that kind of thing of actually rest is good for us. God tells us to rest. He doesn't say, hold on a minute, in Advent you don't rest anymore. It's still important, but it's also giving yourself grace not to be pressurized by that either.
It's very good.
I think that's where family Christmas movies do come in well as well, don't they? That we're all going to sit down, we're all going to commit because it's family time, and then it takes off as the kids get older as well and a bit more teenager. Oh, I'm not watching that anymore. Well, actually, this is family time, so we can watch the cheesy movies, embrace the
Get
it's
the
great,
popcorn
isn't it?
out.
Yeah,
Let's go
it's
with
great.
it. I also this year, because I was that bit older, we've got exam season in our house, so we've got A-levels and GCSEs all going on, and the kids have been really intently studying, and they just need a headspace to relax. So I actually said to Alex, we're going to go Christmas shopping as a family, and we do it that's one of our traditions more recently, and we go for a day out. And I booked it in the diary. I looked at the diary, thankfully, a couple of months ago and said, right, when can we go? We were like, oh my goodness, we are getting really busy. So I particularly marked a day and I said, right, we're going to go to a Christmas market because we just want to go and chill. And on the journey, I remember one of the children kind of going, I've got so much work to do. I don't know if I can spare the time to be doing this. And I said, this is exactly what you need. You need to have like a Sabbath break where you just don't think about work today. You need to allow yourself to rest. And this is why we're doing it, because you need to stop. And I said, I'll email your teachers. They'll understand. They know it is good for you. And you're allowed to have a break. So I think even when they're older, you still have that balance to negotiate, don't you?
Yeah.
It's also important to know your own capacities as well, isn't it? I have to share about the Christmas spreadsheet for Christmas dinner.
Oh, yeah, come on.
So,
do you do anything like let us know when you've heard this if you did. I think I'm
this
very
is your
pleased with
genius. This is Alex's
Yeah.
genius.
Started this 1 year and I think it's great.
So I know you guys like preparing your food for Christmas, don't you? And thinking what you're going to eat. So I'm the same. So tonight, my plan is to sit with all my Christmas cookery books and go, right, let's dream what we're going to eat and work out when I'm cooking. Can I bake anything in advance and put it in the freezer? Kind of do what I can.
Very good.
And then the problem I get is I get really ambitious and I kind of go, wow, I'm going to pull all the stops out. I'm going to make this, going to make that. And most of the time I'm fine. And it's all going really well. Even on Christmas Day, got everything prepped. Christmas Eve is full on. But then Christmas Day, I have this moment, like the last
about an hour before.
It's about an hour before you serve, when everything comes together. I lose it.
So the planner, the instinctive takes over from the planner.
Yeah, so basically I then transition to Alex. I go and sit down with a cup of tea. And Alex,
I start juggling.
Alex has created now every year a spreadsheet that lays out the last hour of cooking time. So literally, like at
Well,
this
it starts the whole day,
Christmas-
doesn't it, with the cooking turkey in oven on, all that.
So it's like you will wake up at this time, you will put the oven on at this time, you will put the potatoes in, and at the same time you'll be stirring the gravy. You'll be doing
Yeah.
because I can't coordinate so many things because I generally hold it in my head. And then so Alex writes it all down, and we go through the spreadsheet, and we literally tick it off, and we edit the spreadsheet every year. Don't
And
we?
we just adjust it. So if we're having a meal at a certain time, everything gets shunted
Or
forward
more
half an hour.
people,
Or,
you
and
increase.
everything just and then also when your chill times are, and then you don't suddenly go, oh, did we forget to do the
Turn the oven on.
or turn the oven on, and you just know, so you can just chill, enjoy,
Yeah.
relax, and enjoy the time. So how do you rate the
I think, and that's fantastic.
I'm married to a project manager, so like,
I'll have various alarms. We've got one of those Amazon Alexa devices, so I'll always be like, I'll have the Amazon set up with like the turkey alarm, and followed by the stuffing alarm, followed by the potato alarm, and they all go off at different times. And say your potato alarm is now going off, and I'll have to then go and turn the potatoes off or put them on or whatever I need to do.
So we're just paper-based, basically. You're tech-based.
Do it on more of a tech focus. And I mean, you're right. It's complicated. I think the practical reality is it can, and you've got to balance what you can and can't do yourself, and know your own limits, and not try to be over the top ambitious and make it stressful, because it's not enjoyable. This last year was the first year we did slow cooked turkey. We put the turkey in at like 5-6 in the morning, and it was in for like 9-10 hours in the oven. We had this recipe we had through, but it was a massive turkey. It was like ginormous.
9-10 hours. So hang on, when did that go on?
It's when I went at 5-6 in the morning, and we ate about 2:30.
5-6. So somebody got up.
The kids are awake anyway.
We've got small ones
in the morning. It's Christmas morning. Like everyone's gonna be keen to go early.
I'm an early riser as well, so that helps.
So that was and that meant the turkey could actually come out quite early on, because it could sit for quite a while because it was so big and it was so hot. And then you've got loads of oven space, because the problem is the space sometimes. It's just trying to fit it all in and trying to work it out. But I mean, we love the cooking side for sure. That's one of our favourite bits, isn't it? And you get the balance of stuff that you always do every year because it's the tradition, versus those things you want to try. I'll try something different this year. We'll do an exciting stuffing roll.
Something
or we'll
with
do
sprouts.
There you go. Yeah. What can we do
I
to make these tasty? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I'm learning is as I get older is that planning is actually good, and it helps. I think planners, less planner. Or good planner? Relatively speaking.
It varies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I have days where I am on it.
Yeah.
There are other days when I'm like, hi, I'm not really with it.
So I'm just, this is the thing out there. I think a lot of people don't plan. A lot of people, and for some people, you have to force yourself to plan and put in something, and actually it does help. But at the time, because you're not intrinsically a planner, so actually where some people are, so I would just put it out there. If you're somebody that has chaotic Christmases, everything is last minute, things often go wrong, try a plan. Could work. Do you know what I mean? And I just put that out there because after seeing people planning and having the spreadsheet, because I was helping you, it works. So
I think also each year we adjust things by what's going on. Like, because the budget isn't always the same every year, and I think we can make it sound like it's always got to be this massive feast, but actually it's not. Doesn't have to be that.
It's just a roast dinner, isn't it?
It's just a roast dinner. And I think especially this year we are looking at, yes, we have had big Christmases, and we've had ones where we've had kind of 14 people, and that's lovely, but actually the heart and the intent is what's important, and some years we'll have a quieter Christmas, and it may not be the same kind of budget or spread, but actually it's about the fun in we love cooking because it's fun between us. The music's on, there's usually something open already. The kids are milling around, like they've normally eaten too many chocolates off the tree already. Like it's the environment that I like of when we're cooking together.
And that is really important, actually, because I think that's what we were saying earlier. If you're not someone who enjoys some of that stuff, then make it easy for yourself. Don't feel guilty going out and buying the pre-done in the foil turkey. You just shove it straight in the oven, you're done, without any of the worrying about basting stuff and flavours and seasoning. Because again, the kids, especially if you've got children like that, that is one of the most important days for them to kind of again remember. And if you're stressed and shouting at everyone and whatever, it's not a great place to be. So just realize what your strengths are, and don't feel guilty about that. Again, it's that comparison thing, isn't it?
Yeah, very much.
And it's going by how you are each year well. I think as well, like some years we're feeling like we've got all the energy in the world to pour into it, and there's other energy times when we're like, actually we need to look after ourselves this Christmas season, and so we'll do things slightly differently.
Yeah, that's good.
I think with the cost of living crisis going on at the moment as well, I think it's really important that we just are sensible and do what is not going to give us that anxiety level of like, I've got to achieve or compare. And I know for me, I like again, because I'm a bit of a planner, I've got an app that is like my Christmas gift guide, because what I have found in the past is with those lovely stocking presents, I've ended up like buying 3 shower gels for somebody because I forgot there were 2 buried in the cupboard somewhere. So now I have an app that I itemize all the things I've bought, and then I think, oh, I've got that, don't need to buy it. Or you can also set a budget, so I can say, well, this is the amount I'm going to spend on this person. When I've reached it, I know they're done, and I can
What's the app
feel
called? Come on, you can plug an app.
Oh, it's the Christmas gift guide, I think. It's
Okay,
something like that.
that's good, yeah.
Other apps, I'm sure, are available. Yet to find them. But that's just something I find helpful with doing all the shopping. And as I'm popping out and getting bits and bobs, I can manage my budget, and I can set things and stick to it, because it will show me if I've gone over. And I'm like, oh, good. I know I'm...
And you can put web links on there, and you can put all sorts on,
and
can't you?
our children are a bit older, and the wish list gets more and more expensive. It's more tech,
Less items, but bigger
so we're
items,
kind of
yeah.
like, right, well, if you're having that, then you have less of this, or we say, well, that's not reasonable. You need to contribute half towards it now from your savings, and we negotiate that. But also, I think it's just navigating the expense carefully, isn't it? So that you're not over selling yourself. You're not over giving.
Not wasting money, are we?
And one thing I know our nephews and nieces love is time. We have a couple of nephews and nieces who are close to Christmas birthdays, so they just love having an outing out with the family. It doesn't have to be a big gift that you give. They always say they love just going bowling or taking them out for a walk, or just spending time is really important. So that's a gift we can all give for free. Obviously measuring what you can afford, but I think that's another idea, is just not always spending, just giving the memory.
That's good.
Just
Where do you guys go? How do you manage all the gifts and things like that?
Yeah, I think we definitely there is a budget which we try and stick to. And
That is a good. The whole idea of just setting a budget, because some people just buy, and I've spoken to people that, sorry to interrupt, but they were saying, oh, my kids want, and therefore they get, and actually, well, they might want, but the budget is. And that sticks, doesn't it? Sorry, carry on.
I mean, our kids write lists, and you see their character in their 3 different lists. And actually, this year was really interesting. The kids swapped around, and actually, in the kind of characters and things. And Ed had a really short list. He's put 3 things on there. Lexi has gone all out. But we've had but that's provoked a conversation with her as well, and that's actually really healthy, to be able to set your child's expectations. That actually, if you are someone that writes lists, or depending on where you sit with Santa and who the gifts come from, I think setting the children's expectations throughout Advent is really helpful, so that actually on Christmas Day everyone's got the right heart perspective of when they open gifts, regardless of whether they're coming from parents or families. And I think there's things on her list, and we've had the chat and said, Lex, that's a great idea, but
you're not having a horse.
That's on my list.
Now that I believe.
Yes, no, I'm not getting a horse this year. But no, and it is that conversation and helping them to be able to have perspective as well. And we've made changes this year because of various different things, and they've said, oh, we've done different advent calendars this year, for example, and that's provoked a conversation of why we're doing that. Well, actually, we're doing a trip this year instead. So we're going to do things slightly different this year, because we just have to be aware of the bigger picture and the bigger expense.
Fantastic.
And keeping them in an understanding. I think it helps them. The more the kids know, I think that helps them understand.
And I think you're right, Lisa. Like the experience thing's really important. Like saying to your child, we're going to do a day out together, just me and you, like one parent, one child, and we're going to spend £20, and you can choose what you want to do that's within our budget. Is like, it actually is liberating for them, because they get some choice, but actually you got time with them. Or whether you like create a photo album, you can look back through your phone all the photos taken throughout the year, and you just print off one for every month, and you just give them like things like that actually are not that complicated to do and not expensive, but actually are really great memories. And things like every year when we get our Christmas decorations, we've got our calendar from the year before in there, and we make a calendar with pictures on it from every year, and we give it to our family as well. And so you can look back at like the last 5 years of kind of calendars, and you can see all the photos and the calendar, and it's just like, oh, remember we did that, and we did this, and that time you did this, and this costume you were wearing, and like those kind of things are really precious memories, actually.
Fantastic.
I remember with growing up, my dad worked really hard. He was self-employed and he worked like 6 days a week, and he worked with the church on a Sunday. So it was like pretty full on life. And one of the best memories I've had, and I still talk about it, is we went out for the day, just the two of us, and he took me shopping. And we didn't spend much money. I don't even remember what we bought, but it was the fact that my dad gave up a day of really precious time. We went to Peterborough and we went to John Lewis's and had chocolate pudding, and that's all we can remember from the whole day.
Sorry.
But it was priceless, and he and I get choked up.
Oh.
He and I still talk about it now because it was just such a moment that money couldn't buy that, because he didn't. That moment was more expensive for him than spending money. It was his time that cost more.
Good.
So I think genuinely those gifts can mean a lot more, and will be the memories you look back on, which money
Yes,
can't
there
buy.
are things you remember.
Yeah.
Now, I heard that you guys do a game. You've done a game in the past where you go to a shop with a trolley.
Well, yeah.
Now, I've never heard of this before. So this would be interesting.
You have to set some boundaries a little bit on this one, because the kids have to understand how this works, right? But basically, in those moments where you're like, if you can't afford to buy things for each other, maybe 1 year.
But you could just do it anyway. You could do it anyway.
You basically go to a shop and you get the kids to go out and you say, right, choose what you would give to each other, and they go off individually. You have to go, obviously, an adult with each child if they're not age appropriate to do that, and they come back. You gather back together in the shop and say, here's what I would buy you, here's what I would buy you, and that's great, and then you put it back again.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to actually buy anything.
Yeah.
But you get this experience of like, here's what I would buy for you, here's a great thing to have, and it just things like that can be quite good fun sometimes for the
You
kids.
do that in John Lewis. That'd be quite good. Go to London and do it in Selfridges.
Oh, do you know what? That's genius.
Here's the
I would
priceless
love that.
artwork that I'd buy for you, if I could afford to.
You could see what you could do. That'd be great if you did a London trip.
You'd enjoy that.
Go and do it in Selfridges and come back with the most expensive thing you could fit in a truck. No. But you
make a game out of it.
The variations are endless.
Yeah, they
I
are.
like that. But
Yeah, I
just
can
the
imagine you
idea
do.
of how you would read somebody and what you think somebody would enjoy.
Yeah.
And also, because you can surprise them with things, but it doesn't matter if you get it wrong. Whereas if you do surprise people with things and you get the wrong thing, it just gets passed on, doesn't it? So I like the idea of that.
I think love languages are really helpful in regards to gift buying, and just kind of thinking what suits that person, what would they like as well. I know that there's certain things that I buy, look at and buy, and go, oh, that's really pretty and lovely. But it's pretty and lovely because I like it. It's remembering also, is that right for the person that's going to be receiving it as well?
And that's a great thing for the kids to learn early on, is actually how we think about other people and what do you think they would like, and why do you think they'd like that, and why would they not like that. And I think that's really important that the kids start to think like that about, because that's what God does with us, right? He looks at us, and although I think I know what I want, he knows what I want, what I need. And so I think that is I think it's good for the kids to have that perspective.
I think that's a good thing with the kids list as well. It's balancing, yes, they want what things they've asked that they want for, but actually what do they need, what's right for them. Like Lexus put some things on the list that we've gone, you just don't need those right now. You'll need those in a few years when you're older and you're in secondary school, but you don't need those now. And you've probably heard them mentioned on the playground or something like that. But it's not what you need, and it's not what's good for you right now as well.
I think as well with internet shopping as well. So we don't normally have an Amazon subscription. A lot of people don't. Some people just automatically do.
I am an Amazon Prime mum. I need a costume for tomorrow.
I know, but we got Prime membership leading up to Christmas because it was free for a month, and then we'll ditch it again, which is great. But you can get very quick at just hitting buy, can't you? So just being careful with that, and it's just an extra few pounds, but just the discipline of if you think you're that sort of person where you can spend too much, putting something in the basket and then just leaving it there for 24 hours before you press buy, and that can be something if you've got money tensions in a family, or one's more of a spender and one's more careful, putting in some rules like that between you as a family, so one doesn't overspend and then it causes issues. But that kind of thing can be careful as well, because it's just very quick, isn't it?
There's one thing actually, a quick shout out for a website called camelcamel.co.uk. Right? Okay. So this website, what you can do is you can basically put in.
I want a horse, not a camel.
No,
Surprise!
You basically put in the Amazon product that you want to buy into a website and search, and it shows you the price history over the past 3 years of that item. So you can see if it's actually good value or not, which on things like Black Friday is amazing, because often the things actually are not that cheap. They might be reduced by £50, but actually when you look at it, it's still far higher than it ever has been price-wise. And so if you want to know like the value of something or how it's trended, you can then look at that
really
website. So camelcamel.co.uk. It's fantastic.
And I think also with the sales, I always come back to the fact of, yes, that looks like a great deal, but would I actually have bought it for full price? If I am a bargain hunter. I always look for an offer. I've been trained very well by my husband. But it comes back to just because it's on sale doesn't mean we need it, and that's
very true.
That balance as well.
I've saved this much money on it. No, you didn't. It cost you 50 quid. You might have saved 50, but you spent 50, and we're not going to use it.
Right. So what does Christmas morning look like in your home? I mean, I can imagine it now. You're all snuggled in your bed doing your stockings. You've got your nativity story. What else?
The angels appear and they're singing. There's throngs of shepherds.
I can imagine you're the angels singing, to be honest.
Yes, we do a full musical in the morning. No, I mean, I think it's probably like most houses. The kids are pretty hyped up and ready to go pretty early on, aren't they?
Yeah, I think one thing we do that maybe is different to some families is that we've always had the stockings downstairs. So we set up in the snug. We have like a sleigh that I built for when Izzy was born, her first Christmas.
This sleigh was meant to be
plug for the sleigh.
Like small.
You're very proud.
It was meant to be a small scale sleigh. I didn't do the sizing
I could
very
fix
well.
a reindeer to this thing. It's
pretty big. It survived for the last 15 years at least. So, but yes, so we get the sleigh set up, put the stockings in there, lay out like the mince pie and the milk for Santa, and then the kids go to bed. And then in the morning, they're not allowed to go downstairs until we say they can, because Santa may not have been yet, and so they can't. And for us, that actually helps with the boundaries, because then they can't. When I was a kid, actually, the stocking was on the bottom of my bed, but it meant as soon as the middle of the night, if I rolled over at 4 a.m., I could feel it. I'm like, oh, I want to open it right now, and I can't go back to sleep. And so for us, that's been very helpful in terms of limiting that. So then we go downstairs and we can make ourselves a drink, and we can sit and snuggle with our tea and our caffeinated drinks
very quickly
while the kids do their stocking thing, and we can watch them do that together. And it's a family activity rather than being an individual in each bedroom activity.
I think that is key as well.
Works.
And the whole, when you said that, it reminded me of the whole idea of boundaries, and what you do at Christmas is a reflection of what you do during the rest of the year. And having boundaries for children and being clear that Christmas is for everybody to enjoy, and it's not all about the kids and the kids dictating, because in some families it can be like that a little bit too much and the parents can get frustrated. But agreeing again in advance, we're going to set a time and we're going to do this, and deciding as a family, and that just means that you all have that fun together, which is great, isn't it?
And I think we want to all get through the day together. And I think sometimes if we don't put boundaries in place, we've got one that's had a meltdown by 9:30, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's usually me.
Or me. That's in my house.
Because you've only had an orange in your stocking.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing, is we want to get through the day together. We want to kind of end the day how we've started the day. And I think, just trying to keep everybody at the same pace of the day is helpful.
So we do stockings first, then we'll do like a bit of food prep usually, a bit of breakfast. We like to have we'll do like American pancakes with maple syrups and bacon, some eggs, maybe a little bit of sparkling something or other, depending on what mood we're in, and if we're driving at all during the day. Then the kids can open normally maybe one under the tree present before we have Christmas Day lunch, but only one of them really, and then we'll do lunch, and then they'll start to work through the other presents under the tree afterwards. And again, that just keeps the pace, not all like everything's given in one go and you have to try and then unpack it. And also they're appreciating what they're opening as they open it, rather than like open it, throw it away, next one, open, throw, and it becomes this conveyor belt if you're not careful of just like not understanding the value of what people have given.
Just keeping the focus on family, because that's why we're there together. And also it gives us time in the morning to keep them focused on the real meaning, that otherwise they can get a little bit overwhelmed.
After this year, there'll be a King's speech, so it'll be very exciting to see that.
We will do the speech.
We will do that. Normally fit that in.
We've had some years where depending on which church we're at, we've gone to church in the morning. Either that, or we've done it on Christmas Eve. So we always make sure that either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day we've spent time worshipping.
That's good.
That's Christmas Eve, isn't it? Yeah,
Christmas Eve for us this year. Living Rock,
We'll do that.
And there's a message online, I believe, as well on Christmas Day.
So excellent. That's it. So clock into that.
It's another spoiler alert.
No, it's really good. I love that, and I think it is just about creating your expectations, isn't it, and setting your boundaries so that everybody has a great day. That's what it's all about. You just want to enjoy yourselves, don't you? And get to the end of the day going, that was a great day. Not like, we made it to lunch. Can we last the afternoon? Back-to-back films all day. Ours is pretty similar format, isn't it?
Yes.
Got to have your smoked salmon and scrambled egg breakfast.
Force
feed yourself, because you know you're going to have a massive dinner anyway. And then in my family, we also eat a big tea. So you literally, it's just a food fest. But that's just how we are.
There's got to be cold meats and sausage rolls and a cheese board. If I'm not ending the day on cheese, then it's not Christmas.
And then just regarding wider family as well, sort of, because obviously you've got your family, but then you've got wider family, sort of managing expectations, what you agree. I think, did you mention something about, I didn't quite fully understand, closed hands and open-handed?
Yeah.
I think I got that, but if you could explain that.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, we just want to make sure, again, what we're going to prioritize that needs to be that way because we feel it's a critical priority, and what things traditions or things we'd like to do, can we choose to give up? So closed-handed, I'm going to hold on to this, it's mine. Open-handed, do you know what? I can give it up if I need to give it up.
Oh, good, I got that. That's good.
And so I think it's like with parents, with aunts, uncles, with other kind of wider family, it's important to think about what they want to get out of the Christmas season and not underestimate how much value they get from being around you. And if you have to change a few traditions to accommodate other people so they can have that experience, then you should do that. But there are some things that we don't want to change and that are really important that we maintain as a family. And so working out what those are for you, because it's different for everyone, is really important. And then again, communicating so that we both agree, rather than I make a promise to my family that Helen doesn't agree with, or vice versa. We have to make sure we're both in agreement, that we can kind of say, do you know, and then be really clear. Like, don't be ambiguous or, well, maybe we'll see what happens. Like, be clear. Yeah. Actually, I'm sorry, we can't see you on Christmas Day this year, but why don't we get together on Boxing Day or whatever? And that's just so important to help people just not have that unknown uncertainty of Christmas. And
I think it's kind that you kind of set the expectation for your family members as well. And I just think it makes for a peaceful Christmas for everyone. I think obviously, like, family always want to see each other and do things together sometimes, and sometimes they don't. And I think it's working, everyone has a different pace as well. I am a slower pace to my husband, and that's not a criticism. He is amazing. You love seeing people, you are extroverts in every way, whereas I need periods of downtime. Like same with the kids. Some of our kids could do every family member back and be fine with it. And some of them, they just need that spacing out. So I think it's also working out what's good for your family, what's healthy for the different characters in your family. Because in our little five, we're all different and we need different things. And it's making sure that we're looking after all of us, as well as setting the expectation with our family members, but also making our family members feel loved and heard as well. Like, if grandparents bring ideas to us, we want to make them feel loved and heard and go, that's a really lovely idea, we'd love to do that for you, but could we do it at this time of day instead, or on this date, could we flex it just because one of the kids may need a little bit more time and things like that.
Yeah, I think, as Alex was saying earlier, I think Christmas has a habit of magnifying everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you've got problems that exist in relationships, as you were saying, or you've got things between you and your other half, or whoever you're spending time with at Christmas that you haven't really worked through or talked about, the chances are Christmas will magnify it. And that doesn't always lead to a massive family blow up, but it can do at times.
Yes.
And I think it is so important to prepare yourself for that and have the conversations and work out, do you know what? Perhaps I shouldn't spend as much time with those people or that person, or we shouldn't perhaps try and do that as well as that, because I know it's going to just kind of add to the problems that are already there, or it's going to make, or the kids, like you say, the kids need some downtime and some space on their own sometimes, and throwing them into yet another sugared situation is not always helpful. So I think it's really important to think about that, because Christmas will magnify it. And if you've got good relationships, it magnifies that as well. And there are certain people you can be with, and it just adds to the joy being with that family or being with those people.
And it is special, I think, just having times with families, with relatives, and just getting together. It is just wonderful, isn't it, when you're just sitting there at Christmas. We're because our children are older now. We've got one at university, so he's coming back for Christmas. And he's working at uni, so coming back is he's not like for 4 weeks or anything. And that is wonderful. So that's changing the dynamic a little bit, that your child is coming home for Christmas, which is good. And then parents that are getting slightly older, you know, they're not around for the whole day with the whole crowd because they just get a little bit more tired. So different dynamics are just changing in different seasons, which is just interesting. But it's nice, it's lovely, and just embracing those different seasons and working with them is great.
And I think also, as a couple, we need to get time together as well, because otherwise you get to the end of the season and you're like, I feel like I've hardly seen you, kind of thing. And it's making sure that we've carved out time to have time together just to relax and chill out as well.
That's so true.
I mean, our families are really good. There's a couple of days this year where we've seen one family, then we've got a couple of days where we've got nothing on. That means the kids can chill out, they can re-energise, we can get a bit of time together, and then actually when we see the next lot of family, we're all fully engaged.
Yeah.
We're all
That's so
able to be
good, Helen.
present again.
Yeah.
Like I think when you go, if you end up going to family wrung out and kind of not present, it's not good quality time together. And I think that's something we tend to do, is try and give yourself a day in between, just to.
That's good.
If you want to sleep in, you can sleep in. Or
That's what we're doing this year. Ours are all older, so the lay-in is really key. So everything we've got planned for Christmas is in the afternoon.
and that's
Then they will be
way.
far more present with the relatives in the afternoon. They'll have had a nice sleep. They can stay up late. And as they're a bit older, they can have a beer or something in the evening and not think, I've got to go to bed because I've got to get up at 7 a.m. So that's their treat. I think just to wrap everything up, what would you say are your 3 top tips for families trying to keep Jesus at the centre and trying to get the balance right this Christmas? What would you?
I definitely say it's. Definitely it's the atmosphere over achievement. I think it's really about saying the environment you create and the kind of way you feel is more important than the things you do or the things you receive. And I think prioritizing that time, kind of where you've got that godly atmosphere, that God at the center, kind of that's that we're here and we want to give gratitude and be grateful, and that's just so important, not kind of comparing to other people.
I think, definitely. I think it's keeping perfection trying not to kind of strive for perfection. I think it's not a competition. I think social media there's wonderful things about it, but also you can look at this picture perfect Instagram post or someone creating this amazing craft and things like that, and you feel that suddenly, hold on a minute, I haven't done that, and it's kind of switching off from the noise in a way. I think is really important, because so then we're not kind of getting ourselves into comparison, as Chris said, or competition. I think also just that Christmas is one day a year, I think, and it's a wonderful day, but I think also we need to look after ourselves and not kind of put the pressure on so much that we've kind of drained ourselves in that day, that actually we should be actually refueled by it because of what it means in regards to Jesus coming and worshipping and things like that. Actually, it should fill us up, not deplete us. And I think once we get to the point where it's actually depleting us, it's good to kind of think, what can I do different? How can I come out of Christmas feeling better rather than worse?
Because it is definitely it's a lifestyle, and you can't expect suddenly one day of the year to suddenly be different to every other day of the year in a significant way. And so if you haven't built in like devotionals or time with the kids, or you're not talking about Jesus on a daily basis with your children, then trying to squeeze it all into one season is just going to be very painful and not enjoyable at all. So looking at your whole life and trying to make sure that Christmas is a continuation of your lifestyle rather than being a one-off unique gear shift. I think it's just really important.
Sorry, little tagline, Jesus is for life, not just for Christmas. just came to me.
Fantastic.
I'm sure it's written somewhere else.
Can I just say as well, these Sloth Christmas mugs, very hard to drink out when you're doing a podcast. But anyway, we're good. So shall I wrap things up? Oh, go on.
Did you have any other thought? No, that was it.
They're probably the main ones I would say. I think the atmosphere is really important. Christmas is a lifestyle extension, and don't get into comparisons and trying to compete with other people.
And that's a good thing for lifestyles as well.
It is.
Yeah, it is. So go on.
And Jesus is grace and God is grace, and I think that's the main thing of just giving yourselves grace, give each other grace. Sometimes there's yes, we try to communicate, but there's always something that can maybe come up. It's giving yourself grace, giving your loved ones grace. If someone's having a meltdown on the floor, give them grace, because it can just be a little bit much. And I think, just remembering the grace of God that he gives us just helps us kind of survive the season.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's really good.
Brilliant. So please remember to like and share. That'd be great, because we want to spread these podcasts, and there's some other, we've touched on a lighter subject today, but there's some other subjects that are so valuable in our other podcasts. So please check those out. And would also love to hear your comments. Message us directly or put comments on there. If you've got major hints and things that make Christmas special for you, we'd love to hear those as well. And just follow the links to the Meet the Parents podcast on our website as well. That would be great. So thank you so much, guys.
You. It's been
really
really fun.
Wonderful
Thanks
having
for having
you. And it's been great talking to everything Christmas, the highs, the lows, the ins, the outs. It's been wonderful. So thank you, and roll on Christmas.
Yeah, I'm going to go and get the Christmas music back on there.
There we go.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank
Party
you
time.
for watching. Bye-bye.
See you.